I want to ask you something right here, right now. Have you ever felt that tug deep inside, the one that says, hold on, don't give up, there's more ahead? Maybe you've been through storms that shook your spirit, moments where you felt the ground beneath you begin to crumble. In those moments, a quiet voice often whispers, keep believing, keep hoping, keep the faith. Yet sometimes it's not so easy to listen, is it? Life can wear you down. The stress of expectations, the weight of personal failure, the chatter of doubts that creep in during the midnight hour, these can push you to the brink. And I'm here to tell you, faith is not a luxury. Faith is the key that unlocks your potential and reminds you of the power that lies within. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. Keeping your faith alive in God no matter what obstacles you face. We live in a world where everything rushes by. Deadlines, bills, responsibility, relationship struggles, family complications. It feels like a race where the finish line keeps disappearing the closer we get. So many people out there tell you to just believe, but they never explain how to make that belief real when the ground shakes and your confidence wavers. They never show you a roadmap of how to hold on when the storms get fierce. They tell you to keep the faith, but not why it matters or how to grow stronger in it day by day. And that's why, in this moment, with all of you gathered here, we're going to break it down. We're going to open up our hearts and truly explore why faith matters, how it fuels our journey, and what practical steps we can take to keep that flame alive. Whether you're someone just stepping into adulthood with dreams too big to hold, or a parent juggling the future of your children, or a community leader trying to offer hope to those around you. I stand here not as someone who's never battled doubt, but as a living testament that doubt is not the end of the road. Doubt can be the doorway to deeper understanding if you press on with a spirit that's unafraid to search for truth. And I know that some of you here might be on the verge of giving up. Some of you might feel misunderstood or betrayed or just plain tired. If there's one message I want to pour into your heart right now, it's this: you can overcome. Faith, when awakened, can push you through the darkest valleys and lift you onto the highest peaks. It can bind your wounds, sharpen your vision, and break the chains that keep you from your destiny. So tonight, we'll walk through 8 strategies to keep that faith alive. We'll dig deeper, we'll share real stories, and we'll look at practical solutions that can guide you forward. Because I believe in you. I believe that you have something extraordinary within. And faith is what brings it to the surface. Are you ready to move forward? Are you ready to reclaim what's been lost and ignite a new fire for life? Let's do this together. I'm standing here with you, heart to heart, ready to see you rise. The first strategy is about clarity, knowing who you are and why you stand. If you don't know who you are, how will you believe in what guides you? Often we lose our faith in God because we've lost faith in ourselves. We get trapped in the stories others tell us about our worth, or the narratives of failure that loop endlessly in our minds. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself paralyzed by someone else's opinion? Maybe a teacher once said you weren't smart enough. Maybe your parents doubted your dreams. Maybe your boss undervalued your potential. When those words sink in, they become a lens through which you see your entire identity. But your identity comes from a higher source. It's written in the quiet corners of your soul, placed there by God Himself. So the moment you forget that, you start to question if you're truly worthy of the divine promises that faith brings. If a young person steps onto a college campus carrying the weight of a hometown that told them they'd never make it, that young person might skip opportunities or shrink away from challenges. Their faith in a bigger plan falters simply because they've lost sight of who they are. In a family scenario, a parent who's lost confidence in their ability to guide their children starts to doubt that God can restore broken relationships or mend emotional rifts. They feel like they have to manage everything alone, and their faith suffers when it seems impossible. In a community or business context, a leader who no longer believes in their own capacity to uplift others ends up feeling disconnected from God's guidance, as though they're unworthy to channel hope to those in need. When you forget your true identity, you risk isolating yourself from the very power that can bring light to your darkest moments. You might drift, searching for validation in places that leave you even emptier. You might turn to fleeting pleasures, addictive habits, or relationships that tear you down instead of building you up. And in that emptiness, you can't hear the still, small voice calling you back to faith. How do you combat that? Start by challenging those negative labels. If you've been called weak, remind yourself you are strong in the eyes of the one who made you. If you've been told you can't succeed, remember that God's plan doesn't require anyone else's approval. A practical step: write down every limiting belief you have about yourself and compare it to what you know in your heart God says about you. Journal about it, speak it out loud, confront it head on. Faith grows when you strip away false identities and step into the truth of who you really are. This is not wishful thinking. It's a decision to align your mind with a power greater than your circumstance. In that alignment, you find the bedrock of unshakable faith. That bedrock is what keeps you firm when life's storms roll through, reminding you you're not defined by what people say. You're defined by a higher calling. And with that knowledge, you can step forward with courage, determined to see the hand of God move in your life. Leading into the second strategy, let me ask, how many times have you hidden your pain? How often do you feel the pressure to look strong, calm, unshakable, all while chaos brews beneath the surface? Our second focus is on honesty, being transparent with yourself, with others, and with God. If you're putting up a facade of perfection, you're blocking off the very healing that authentic faith can bring. Because genuine faith isn't about denial or pretending everything is fine. Real faith stands in the fire of reality and declares, I may be struggling, but I believe I won't be consumed. Let me paint you a picture. A young professional walks into an office every day with a smile glued to their face, nodding politely, taking on extra tasks, never letting anyone see the anxiety clenched in their chest. They say they have faith that God will see them through, but they don't actually open up about the sleepless nights or the insecurity that keeps them tethered to fear. Eventually, that facade cracks, and they wonder why their faith isn't enough. The truth is, you can't strengthen a muscle you refuse to acknowledge as weak. If you never admit your struggles, if you never cry out, Lord, I need help here, you rob yourself of the support system that can lift you up. In a family setting, parents might hide financial stress, personal disappointments, or marital strains from each other, thinking they're protecting their spouse or kids. But that secrecy erodes trust and builds silent walls between hearts. And in that silent distance, faith becomes diluted because no one's actually sharing their burdens in prayer or encouraging one another with real talk. Within a community or business, leaders often wear a mask of unwavering confidence. They might believe admitting any uncertainty would diminish their authority. But authenticity doesn't weaken leadership, it humanizes it. And that humanity invites people to unite, to pray, to lift each other. When a leader is honest, faith flourishes in the community because everyone recognizes that even in weakness, there is collective strength found in God. Now, the consequence of not embracing honesty is isolation. Loneliness becomes a constant companion, and doubt slips through the cracks. When we feel alone, we question if God is really there. When we hide our pain, we starve ourselves of the empathy and compassion that remind us of God's love in tangible ways. The solution? Practice genuine vulnerability. Talk to a trusted friend, mentor, or family member about what's really going on inside. Set aside time to pray without pretense. acknowledging each hurt, confusion, or anger. It might be uncomfortable, but growth always starts with discomfort. Watch how your faith matures when you stop playing strong and start being real. You will notice that the tension you once felt begins to ease because you're no longer carrying burdens meant to be shared. Honesty is the bridge that helps you travel from denial to hope. And once you step onto that bridge, you'll find you are not alone. God meets you there. Others meet you there. That's where you begin to see miracles unfold. Which brings us to our third strategy, building a circle of faith-filled relationships. I've seen too many folks who want to keep their faith alive but spend their days surrounded by cynics and naysayers. They wonder why their passion is fizzing out. Faith can thrive in solitude, but it's so much stronger in community. You want to stay on fire for God? Stay close to people who know how to ignite that flame rather than douse it. Imagine a teenager chasing a dream of becoming an artist. They're bursting with passion, certain that this calling is from God. Yet each afternoon they hang out with peers who mock their ambition, who sneer at the mere idea of pursuing something unrealistic. Slowly, doubt creeps in, and that once vibrant belief in God's plan starts to flicker. Or consider a married couple hoping to break generational patterns of conflict and discord. They might want to center their marriage on faith and love. But if all the advice they hear is laced with bitterness or skepticism, it becomes harder to sustain hope. In a church or corporate environment, let's say you've got a leader trying to implement a vision that requires bold trust in God. If the leadership team is dominated by individuals who only see problems, who always predict the worst, it becomes an uphill battle to maintain a faith perspective. That's why in Scripture, we see examples of believers coming together, praying together, and standing in unity, because faith doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's a contagious energy that grows when it's shared. The danger of ignoring this principle is that you might find yourself with a faith that never gets fueled. It's like trying to keep a campfire burning when everyone around you is throwing water on the flames. Soon enough, the fire dies and you're left in the cold. So what's the solution? Seek out mentors, friends, and communities who challenge you to believe bigger, who speak life over your dreams, and who pray over your struggle. Choose people who don't just talk about faith, but demonstrate it through their actions, their resilience, and their love. Be that person for someone else too. Offer encouragement, share stories of divine interventions. Let others see that your faith isn't just talk, it's real, it's active, it's alive. Because when you surround yourself with people who keep their eyes on God's promises, you'll find it easier to lift your own eyes to heaven instead of focusing on the obstacles in front of you. And that is a turning point. That's where faith multiplies, not just for you, but for everyone in your circle. And it makes the transition to the next strategy daily so much more natural. Now, strategy number 4, nourishing your spirit with consistent spiritual practices. Faith is like a muscle. It won't grow if you never exercise it. Many folks say, I believe, but go days, weeks, even months without nurturing that belief. Then when tough times come knocking, they wonder why their faith feels so shaky. Picture an athlete who never trains but expects to perform at peak level during a championship match. That's not how it works, and faith is no different. Think of a college student trying to keep faith alive in an environment where moral standards sometimes blur. Parties, social pressures, academic stress. It's easy to neglect prayer or spiritual reading in favor of Netflix binges or late-night cram sessions. Over time, the student finds themselves drifting from God, unsure why they feel empty and disconnected. Or look at a family that's so caught up in daily routines, school drop-offs, work deadlines, grocery runs, paying bills, that they seldom pause to reflect, pray together, or read something uplifting. They might believe in God, but their faith never gets the fuel it needs. In a company or a community setting, Employees or members might talk about shared values once a year at a big meeting, but there's no ongoing devotion or prayer that keeps those values alive. Eventually, cynicism sets in, overshadowing any sense of divine purpose. The result is a faith that's unprepared for spiritual battles. When crisis hits, health scares, job loss, heartbreak, there's no reservoir of spiritual strength to draw from. But there's a remedy: daily devotion. Commit to simple yet powerful habits. Spend a few minutes reading a motivational or faith-based passage each morning. Pray or reflect over your meals, thanking God for daily provisions. End your day by recalling moments of grace you witnessed. Don't see these as burdens or rituals. See them as intimate conversations with the divine. Consider fasting from distractions once a week. Shutting off social media for an evening to focus on spiritual growth. Join a small group at your church or a faith-based book club to keep you accountable. Over time, these practices shift from chores to lifelines. You realize that investing in your spirit daily makes it easier to maintain unwavering trust when life throws you off balance. You start walking with a confidence that's not arrogance, but an assurance anchored in something greater than yourself. That's when faith starts to shape your decisions and perspective. No longer a mere concept, but a living, breathing force within you. Our fifth strategy is trust in action. Too often we say we trust God, but we keep our hands clenched around our problems, trying to fix everything ourselves. We say, "God, I believe in your plan," then proceed to micromanage every detail, panicking whenever something goes off script. Real trust isn't passive, it's active release. It's stepping out of the boat, walking on the water. Even when logic screams you'll sink. Let me give you an example of a young entrepreneur who feels called to start a socially responsible business. They believe God placed this vision in their heart, but every time a setback arises, maybe an investor backs out or a product design fails, they become paralyzed by fear. They question if they ever heard from God to begin with. In a family setting, parents may trust that God will guide their children. But the moment the kids show any sign of rebellion or struggle, the parents hover, control, and attempt to force outcomes. Faith wavers because they haven't learned to trust God's timing. In a community or company environment, there's an initiative that aims to bring about positive change. But once obstacles appear, leaders abandon the project, convincing themselves that maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Faith falters because trust was never more than a word on their lips. It was never integrated into their actions. When you fail to practice active trust, you carry burdens you're not meant to bear alone. Anxiety becomes your constant companion, and rest becomes a distant memory. The solution is surrender with intention. Ask yourself daily, is there something I'm clinging to that I need to release to God? That doesn't mean you stop working or planning. It means you do all you can, then let go of the results. You remain diligent but not desperate. You remain prepared but not panicked. And when the outcome doesn't look the way you expected, you stay open, believing God can bring purpose out of what seems like failure. This takes courage. It takes humility. But trust in action strengthens your faith because you see time and again how divine grace shows up in ways you couldn't orchestrate. Then your testimony builds. You can point to specific moments where you let go and God stepped in. And that breeds a faith so solid, so genuine, you can't help but stand in awe. Next, strategy 6, transforming obstacles into opportunities. Faith doesn't promise a life without storms. It promises strength and hope in the midst of them. How you view challenges, whether as dead ends or opportunities for God to shine, will shape the vitality of your faith. It's easy to praise God when blessings rain down, but real faith is tested in adversity. Consider a college graduate who can't find a job in their field. Every rejection letter chips away at their confidence, and they begin to wonder if God forgot them. But what if that detour is leading them to discover a hidden talent or a different career path more aligned with their true purpose? For a family going through a medical crisis, the emotional and financial toll can be overwhelming. Yet sometimes in that valley, they discover a resilience and unity they never knew they had. In a community or corporate environment, budget cuts or staff shortages can feel like the end of growth. But history shows that many of the most innovative solutions spring forth during seasons of scarcity, precisely because people unite and think creatively. If you view every challenge as proof of God's absence, your faith will erode under the weight of disappointment. If you see adversity as an invitation to lean deeper into God's wisdom, something shifts. Your perspective changes from "why is this happening to me?" to "how can this shape me?" You find solutions you never noticed before, and your spirit grows stronger. One practical step is to reframe your internal dialogue when trouble hits. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," challenge yourself to say, "This is tough, but God is with me. What's the next step?" Another practice is to keep a record of obstacles you've overcome in the past. Reflect on how each challenge made you grow in character, skill, or compassion. That log becomes a faith booster whenever new storms arise, and storms will arise. That's inevitable. But with a heart set on turning trials into testimonies, you become unstoppable. You recognize that each setback is an opportunity to witness God's power in real time. That understanding ignites faith because every hurdle becomes another reason to believe that the same God who helped you before will help you again. Which brings us to strategy 7, practicing gratitude in every season. I know how easy it is to let complaints flow when life doesn't go your way, but gratitude is the lifeblood of faith. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from what you lack to what you have. And that shift, though seemingly small, carries immense power. Think about a teenager feeling isolated, scrolling through social media, seeing all the perfect lives displayed by peers. Jealousy sets in, envy rises, and suddenly faith in God's goodness seems distant. But a gratitude habit, writing down 3 things each day they're thankful for, can reset that perspective. They start noticing the blessings right in front of them, the supportive friend, the teacher who genuinely cares, the ability to learn and grow. Or consider a parent struggling with the stress of making ends meet, who can't help but feel resentful watching others thrive financially. Gratitude can open their eyes to the unwavering love in their household, the small provisions that show up just in time, the moments of laughter that money can't buy. In a business setting, employees might fixate on budget constraints or corporate politics, forgetting the sense of purpose and camaraderie that first drew them to the organization. A culture of gratitude, where team members regularly highlight positive milestones, can reignite the collective faith that good things are still possible even in tough times. Lack of gratitude creates a vacuum. It sucks the joy out of life and makes faith feel like a burden. You start asking, what has God done for me lately? But gratitude answers that question daily. A practical way to foster gratitude is to pause before every meal, not just reciting a quick prayer, but truly thanking God for nourishment, the hands that prepared it, and the means to have it. Another way is to regularly articulate appreciation to the people around you, whether at home or work. You might be surprised how expressing thanks can remind you just how active God's hand is in your relationships. Gratitude is more than good manners. It's a posture of the heart that says, I see the blessings and I trust the one who provides them. Keep that posture and watch your faith come alive with new vigor. Finally, strategy 8, living out your faith through service. Faith that's all talk is faith that grows stale. When you keep your blessings to yourself, you become stagnant. But when you pour out love, compassion, and support to others, your faith multiplies. You see tangible evidence that God works through you, and that fuels your conviction like nothing else. Imagine a group of teenagers deciding to volunteer at a local shelter on weekends. They start seeing the world outside their bubble. Families struggling, individuals who've lost their way. Their hearts break, and yet, in that brokenness, they find meaning. They realize their prayers and actions can make a genuine impact, reinforcing their belief that God's love is real. For a family, serving together might involve preparing meals for neighbors who are ill or organizing a local fundraiser for a friend in need. It's a visible expression of faith, and it bonds them in a shared purpose. In a corporate or community setting, spearheading initiatives that invest in education, provide mentorship, or uplift the less fortunate can ignite a collective faith among team members. They start to see that profit and purpose aren't mutually exclusive. They experience firsthand how giving back can create an environment where hope flourishes. If you neglect service, you risk turning inward, living only for yourself. Eventually, faith becomes theoretical, an abstract concept you discuss but never practice. And a faith that doesn't reach out grows lukewarm. The remedy is stepping out. Take deliberate action to serve, whether by using your skills, your time, or your finances. If you're a young person good with technology, help a nonprofit build a website or teach elderly community members how to navigate smartphones. If you're a parent, get your children involved in acts of kindness, showing them that faith is not just words but deeds. If you're in a leadership position, integrate corporate social responsibility into your business model. Through service, you become an extension of God's hands and heart, and that experience cements your belief that God is actively working through you. Each act of service becomes a living testimony, a statement that says, I don't just speak faith, I live it. And in doing so, you see how boundless God's grace can be when people unite under a shared vision of hope. That unity feeds your faith, and the cycle of giving and receiving continues. Each act, a reminder that we're all connected through something far greater than ourselves. Now, after exploring these 8 strategies, knowing your identity in God, being honest, forming faith-building relationships, nourishing your spirit, trusting actively, turning obstacles into opportunities, practicing gratitude, and serving others, we've touched on something critical. Faith doesn't exist just in theory. It thrives on consistent action, heartfelt honesty, and a willingness to grow in the face of trials. But we're not done yet, because these strategies only matter if you decide to apply them, to make them a part of your daily rhythm, to let them transform how you live and love and hope. Before you leave here, I want you to remember how powerful you truly are when you stand in faith. Remember how unstoppable your spirit becomes when you allow God to lead you. Think back to moments in your life when the odds were stacked against you, but somehow, some way you made it through. You might call it a coincidence, good luck, or help from a friend. But I see it as the hand of God working behind the scenes, orchestrating blessings you might not have even noticed. The question is, will you let that awareness shape the choices you make tomorrow, next week, next month? Or will you let this moment pass and slip back into routines that dampen your spirit? My hope, or my challenge, is for you to carry these insights with you, let them sink deep, and commit to a life where faith is as natural as breathing. Perhaps you're still wondering if faith in God is worth the effort, the vulnerability, the surrender. Let me assure you, it's worth every ounce of energy, every tear shed, every step taken in the dark. Because faith is what transforms a broken heart into a testimony of healing. Faith is what drives a hopeless cause into a miraculous turnaround. Faith is what unites families that once seemed irreparably fractured. Faith is what bursts visions in communities that once lay stagnant and brings them to life for the betterment of all. You heard about the power of identity, honesty, community, daily devotion, active trust, reframing challenges, gratitude, and service. These are not distant concepts. They are the core of a life lived boldly, passionately, purposefully. So let's recap. In your heart, remember that discovering who you truly are under God's design crushes the lies that have told you otherwise. Embracing honesty sets the stage for real healing and deepens your faith because you're no longer pretending. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in miracles, in second chances, in a God who can do more than you can imagine. This fuels your dreams. Nourishing your spirit daily grounds you in truth, providing a reservoir of strength in moments of chaos. Stepping out in trust, letting go of the compulsion to control everything, opens doors only divine intervention can unlock. Looking at your problems through a lens of possibility redefines adversity as the breeding ground for growth. Practicing gratitude, no matter the season, tunes your heart to see blessings in the mundane and the miraculous alike. And finally, living your faith through service ties it all together, reminding you that you are blessed to be a blessing. Think about it. What if everyone in this crowd decided to implement just one of these strategies this week? How many lives would change? How many hearts would find hope? How many communities would be transformed from the inside out? You might be here with a burden on your heart right now, an illness in the family, a job that feels like a dead end, a relationship that's on the rocks, or a secret dream you're scared to voice. You might be a single parent stretched thin, a student feeling the weight of expectations, a professional losing sight of why you started in the first place. Let this be the turning point where you say, I'm going to hold on to faith. I'm going to dig in, root myself in something bigger, and rise. I want you to take a moment and imagine, just close your eyes if you like, and see yourself a year from now. Picture the kind of person you want to be. See yourself more at peace, more confident, more courageous in facing life's battles. See your relationships healthier, your dreams more alive, your outlook more hopeful. If you can imagine that future, you've just had a glimpse of what faith can do. Because faith begins where the evidence isn't yet visible, but the promise. Are you willing to do the work it takes to walk in that kind of faith? I believe you are. And you don't have to do it alone. Look around you. This entire crowd is gathered for a reason. Reach out, connect, share, and encourage one another. Discuss ways to build each other up, to hold each other accountable, to pray together, to laugh together, to cry together. That's the beauty of faith. It binds hearts, it lifts burdens, it creates families out of strangers. That sense of unity is what changes individuals and transforms entire neighborhoods, campuses, and workplaces. Don't just talk about these 8 strategies. Own them, live them, pass them on. Now, as we approach the close of this moment, I want to leave you with a call to action that's straightforward yet profound. Put these truths into motion tonight. When you go home, take 5 minutes. Just 5. To reflect on how you can start applying at least one of these strategies. Maybe you'll pick up your journal and write down the lies you've believed about yourself, countering them with truths that affirm your God-given identity. Maybe you'll finally open up about what you've been hiding, telling a trusted friend that you need prayer, that you need a shoulder to lean on. Maybe you'll reach out to a group of faithful individuals who can walk this journey with you. Maybe you'll set your alarm a bit earlier to spend uninterrupted time in prayer or reflection. Perhaps you'll identify one obstacle in your life and pray for the vision to see it as an opportunity. Or maybe you'll plan out a small act of service, whether for a neighbor, a friend, or a local organization. Any one of these steps can open a floodgate of blessings. It's never too late, and no act of faith is too small to matter. Because faith isn't static. Faith is alive, evolving, stretching, growing. As you exercise it, you'll find yourself becoming the kind of person you admire. Someone who's steady in storms, compassionate to those who suffer, bold in the face of injustice, and joyful even when circumstances try to rob your smile. That's the life you're invited to lead. And if you'll walk it out, step by step, day by day, you'll look back one day with awe, seeing just how far you've come and how intricate God's plan was all along. So go forward with confidence. When doubt tries to invade, slam that door shut by remembering who you are, whose you are, and why your story matters. When fear whispers that you can't make a difference, remind yourself that even the smallest spark can ignite a blaze of transformation. When life's waves rise and threaten to engulf you, anchor yourself in the truth that God's love is bigger than any storm. Let your faith shine like a lighthouse for others lost at sea. Be the one who inspires, the one who stands, the one who believes when everyone else has given up. That kind of faith is contagious. It sparks movements, it heals wounds, and it paves the way for miracles. You might be thinking, what if I mess up? You will. We all do. But mistakes don't have to be the final chapter. With faith, every failure can become a stepping stone, a lesson that refines you. Pick yourself up, forgive yourself. Lean on God's grace and keep moving forward. None of us have to be perfect to make a difference. We just have to be willing to keep getting back up, keep trusting, and keep loving. In closing, I want to leave you with this vision. Picture a world where faith isn't just a Sunday ritual, but a daily lifestyle, where families pray and laugh together, not just hustle from one obligation to the next, where young minds dream without restraint, seeing education as a pathway to make the world better, guided by divine wisdom, where corporations serve their communities, blending profit with purpose, and employees feel valued not only for their skills, but for their souls, where neighborhoods rally around those in crisis, because faith teaches us we are our brother's keeper. This isn't some far-fetched fantasy. It starts with each of us taking one step at a time. And as you do that, integrating these 8 strategies into your everyday life, you will see ripples turn into waves of change. My final word to you is this: don't underestimate the power of your own faith. Don't discredit the impact your life can have on others. Right now, you have everything you need to begin this journey. The spark is already there. Fan it into a flame. Walk boldly in your calling and trust that a higher power walks with you every step of the way. Keep your faith alive in God and watch doors open where there once were walls. Watch fear dissolve where there once was anxiety. Watch love flourish where there once was bitterness. This is what faith does. It revolutionizes the landscape of your heart, your home, your workplace, and ultimately, the world. So take that step tonight. Let these words sink in. Carry them with you tomorrow. The journey won't always be easy, but it will be worth every tear, every laugh, and every battle. Because in the end, faith remains. It outlasts the trials, outshines the shadows, and illuminates the path to your destiny. May you live with a faith so bold that it stands as a beacon for everyone who crosses your path. May you embrace the challenges and triumph with grace. May you serve others until your cup overflows with new strength. May you find in God's presence the comfort, courage, and clarity you need. And may your life be a testament that, indeed, with unwavering faith, all things are possible. Go in peace, go in purpose, and never let go of hope. I'm right here cheering you on every single step of the way. Thank you, and God bless you all.